I'm Julie Zenner, and here's what's coming up on Almanac North. We'll have a forum featuring the candidates in Minnesota House District 7B, Republican Art Johnston and Democrat Liz Olson. You'll also hear from hopefuls running in Minnesota House District 5B, 6B, and Senate District 7 in our Meet Your Candidates series. And we'll have a conversation about the importance of recognizing Indigenous Peoples Day. Stay where you are. Almanac North is next. Hello and welcome to Almanac North. Thanks for watching. Dennis is off this week as we continue to alternate hosting duties during the pandemic. Our show was recorded on Thursday afternoon. Well, we begin with some regional news headlines. Cases of COVID-19 continue to climb with hundreds of new positive tests in St. Louis County alone this week. More than 8,000 people have already visited the saliva testing site at the deck since it opened in late September. The state announced several additional saliva testing sites will open around the state in coming weeks. The Duluth School Board took a step toward a potential sale of the old Central School this week. The board gave approval to a purchase agreement which will allow a buyer to conduct due diligence prior to closing on the sale. The potential buyer of the historic structure has not been revealed. The Minnesota Supreme Court this week heard oral arguments regarding several key permits for the Polymet Mine project. A lower court reversed those permits for the Hoyt Lakes mine, saying the DNR should hold a contested case hearing on the project. A Supreme Court ruling on the case is expected in several months. And Minnesota's all-time most winning high school coach, Bob McDonald, passed away this week at the age of 87. McDonald coached at Chisholm for 53 of his 59 years in high school basketball. He led his teams to over 1,000 wins and won 3 state championships with the Chisholm Blue Streaks. But turning now to the election. This week we are featuring a forum with the candidates running for office in House District 7B, which is in the central and western part of Duluth and includes Park Point. On Wednesday, I moderated a virtual forum with Republican challenger Art Johnston and Democratic incumbent Liz Olson. I asked Johnston why he decided to run for the legislature.
I'm running because I think that Duluth needs to have a stimulation. Duluth, we know, is the most beautiful city in the Midwest. We haven't grown for 40 years, and jobs are the #1 thing here. But the pork shipments are down 1/3. The port, remember, is right in the middle of 7B. The Verso Mill is shut down. That's 300 jobs right there. I think those are due to DFL policies. I think that we really have to do a better job. I don't think the DFL represents working men and women anymore in Duluth. So I'm here running to try to bring back real economy back to Duluth and to take our past, present, and the future and make that a better place, make Duluth a better place to live where we actually have jobs.
All right, Representative Olson.
Good morning, everybody, or good evening when this is probably airing. I'm Liz Olson, the current state representative for District 7B, which is the central and west parts of Duluth. And I live in the Denfeld neighborhood with my family, and I'm proudly running to serve our community because I believe in a Minnesota where everyone can thrive. And that means really delivering for Duluth. It means making sure people have what they need in order to not just lay awake and worry, but that they have what they need for their families, that they have good paying jobs, that they have schools that they feel confident and great about sending their students to, and that they have all the supports in the community to make sure that they're living healthy lives. And given the COVID-19 pandemic and everything we're living through, it's made these challenges even more real. And I'm excited to take my relationships and my experience back to St. Paul and to work through this challenge to make sure we can have a bright future for Duluth and all of Minnesota.
All right, well, let's get right into the issues. As you mentioned, Representative, COVID-19 is having a dramatic effect both on the health of individuals and on the economic health of people in our region. Rate the state's effort to control the virus so far, and what, if anything, you think should be done differently?
I think what has been really challenging about the COVID-19 is that we didn't have a federal response. And so every state was left to handle it on their own. And Governor Walz took leadership right out the gate, with his executive orders and powers to be able to provide for our community and our state. And we at the legislature have taken swift action. We've started to work remotely. We've delivered relief packages to small businesses, individuals. We've worked on, individual constituent concerns. So we've been as nimble and flexible as we can as a state government in dealing with the pandemic. It would be helpful if we had federal partners in order to be able to work in a more unified way across state response. But, we're continuing to meet in special session. We're continuing to work and do the best we can as a state and listen to public health experts and be guided by science and to continue to respond to individual constituent needs in our districts as we go. So we're doing the best we can given the difficult circumstances, and I know the governor has doing the best he can with the resources given to him by the federal government as well.
All right, Mr. Johnston.
The state has to really step up to this more. The governor has emergency orders. That's been going on now for 6 months. This is a partisan mandate, and we lost an opportunity. The state government did. The governor lost the opportunity to work in a bipartisan manner to address this. And to me, that's really disappointing. You can't blame the federal government when the governor will not talk to the other party. It makes you wonder, is this really should this be a partisan issue? It seems like this should be a health issue. Also, it should be a mental health issue. It should be an economic issue. The economy, we know the state of Minnesota is projected to be at least $4 billion of shortage of revenue. The federal government, $3 trillion. And here the governor is still talking about partisan mandates rather than you sitting down, talking to people and getting a bipartisan approach to this is what we should be doing. And we have missed that opportunity.
Mr. Johnson, businesses continue to struggle with COVID-19 with the related shutdowns and some restrictions. What specific measures do you think the state needs to do to maybe help small businesses in our region make ends meet?
There's a lot we should be doing. First of all, we have to be bipartisan on this approach. We know this is a big issue, but right now the scare tactics by the media and the DFL are making people afraid to go out of their houses. We have a new normal now, folks. This is not going to go away anytime soon. We have to learn how to keep our economy going. We have to learn how to talk to our neighborhood men and women. We have to not be afraid to go downtown and buy something at the store. We can't be afraid to go downtown and go to the library, which are all closed in Duluth, incidentally. And I think we can do a lot more by just encouraging people, giving the best medical attention that we can. We have to quarantine people that are at risk. Other people, we have to let them out because this is not sustainable. Having a lockdown for how long, we don't know if there's ever going to be a vaccine out. We have to go on to plan B, and that means working bipartisan to be able to make sure everybody has the medical stuff, making sure businesses are able to open and that people come into their doors and use their business. There's a lot we can do, and we're not doing it.
All right, Representative Olson, what specific measures would you support to help small business?
I think the first thing we need to do to make sure the businesses in the economy survive this crisis and that we come out strong is we need to get COVID-19 under control. You hear that time and time again, from our business owners is we need everybody taking this seriously. We need to be listening to science and the experts, and we need to get COVID under control because that is the thing we could do to fastest open up the economy. No politician, no elected official made this happen. It was a virus that caused this crash. And so we need to get it under control. Secondly, we need to provide relief as businesses struggle through the COVID-19 pandemic, as we come up to the winter season when patios aren't a reasonable place to be in Duluth, that we need to make sure our business have the support and resources. We have done some small business relief. Our Department of Economic and Development has really been a nimble organization, with some of the first to get out the federal money to our small businesses. So we need to do more to support them to be able to get through, and to support the workers to have what they need to and get through this as well. So making sure that we have the response from the federal government around the paycheck protection and other resources, but locally and in the state, that we partner together to make sure we keep our small businesses alive and going, because they are the economic engine. And to that point, I've authored several pieces of legislation to assist small businesses in our district, from our craft distillers and brewers who were really hit during this pandemic, to ensuring that we have more flexibility with grant programs and how they're administered for small businesses, so that more of them have access to these programs. So we've done some more, and we have a lot more to do to ensure that we get through this stronger, and that we keep these businesses alive and going.
Representative Olson, schools in our region and across the state are grappling with how to deal safely and effectively with educating students within this crisis. Are the current solutions, in your mind, serving the best needs of students and families? Is there a need for statewide consistency in what's being done? What are your thoughts?
I think, again, the number one thing we can do, whether it be for our small businesses or our schools, is we need to get the virus under control, and we need to take it seriously, and we need everybody working together on this. And if it's not something, you're comfortable, the mask is uncomfortable, or the social distance, just think about the kiddos that are going into schools in difficult circumstances, or learning on their iPads at home. And so we need to do our part so that schools can be open. I think that's really what everybody wants, is to have our schools open and do it safely, and do it with our little learners in the classrooms, and our high schoolers in the classrooms, and sports, and everything that goes with our education system. I think no one is happy about where it's at right now, and I think we're doing the best we can in a really difficult circumstance. I've greatly appreciated seeing how our school district has stepped up. They already do. They're educating kids. They're providing meals when we didn't have schools. Teachers are meeting with students in driveways. They're going above and beyond. And now we're also providing daycare for kids at our schools, for parents who are first responders or work, in the healthcare field. So our schools are meeting the challenging moment the best they can, but they need all of us to take it seriously, so that we can fully open our schools, so that we can get back to normal, and that our learners can be back in the classrooms.
All right, Mr. Johnston, same question to you.
Sure. We have to do more than just get the virus under control. This is a worldwide issue. Everybody knows this isn't a Minnesota issue. This isn't a U.S. issue. This is a worldwide issue. And it is not under control. We know it's not under control, despite having the best minds literally in the world. And we can't just keep saying, everything, we have to wait till everything is under control. We have to go on to plan B. You talk to any parents in Duluth, not any, but most of them, and I do a lot of door-to-door knocking, parents are not happy with the way the schools are operating right now. We have to do a better thing. Not only are we suffering academically, we're suffering mentally. The kids are not socializing. This is also impacting the parents. Talk to parents, particularly the single parents or people that are from disadvantaged households. This is really hitting them really hard. And I don't think that we have done anything at all to be able to address those issues. And yes, we have to be cognizant of the virus, but remember, kids are not prone to the virus, which is very lucky. If we have people that don't want to go to school, we should find ways. For example, teachers can teach from home to students that don't want to go from home. We know there's a lot of students and parents and teachers that do want to do in-person teaching. So we should be accommodating that. In Duluth, we're not doing that, even though we do meet the guidelines to do that. I think this is really a new normal, and the schools are not functioning. This isn't their fault. It's a function of the whole virus. But the fact of the matter is, for whatever reason, the schools are not open. They're not doing a good job. We have to look at giving school choice. We have to look at if parents are going to be doing the lion's share of their work at home, which is kind of babysitting their kids, trying to keep them on the computer, then they should be getting some of that money. Schools take about $15,000 to $20,000 per student. So we really have to start looking at, should the parents be getting some of this money? because the parents are really suffering from this. And we really have to look at a new normal here in education. Now's the time to start doing it.
Mm-hmm. We have about 1 minute left, not much time, but 30 seconds each, just on your thoughts related to police reform efforts and whether or not they're needed in Minnesota. Mr. Johnston?
Police reforms are certainly needed. They're always needed. It's always should be on the table. But Representative Olson has voted to allow cities to defund their police force if they want. That is not a solution to our problems, particularly up here in Duluth. We do not have an issue. Can we do a better job? Obviously we can. I think the police force in Duluth is doing a good job. If they see a problem, they deal with it. But lumping us into the cities and defunding the police force, or what do they call it now, violence intervention. Wait a minute, we do need police, and we don't want what's happened down in the cities happening in Duluth, and that's not happening yet. We do that, one reason was because we do have a very accountable, effective police force.
Let's let Representative Olson jump in quickly.
Yes. So, I think it's no secret that we are in a time of racial, reckoning and racial unrest that we've seen because systems have been set up unfairly. I think that's undeniable. And we have to come to terms with that and our role as state government and what do we do to address those racial injustices. And so we saw that happen in a real call to action with the killing of George Floyd. And so we responded accordingly and worked in a bipartisan way to pass a police accountability bill, which did things like banning chokeholds, making sure that we don't have warrior training, like a lot of things that police officers want us to do because it keeps the good people safe and protected, protecting our communities and keeping out those people that shouldn't be in the police force. And, personally, I have worked closely with Chief Tuscan in Duluth to make sure that we're making changes that better serve our community and our police force, while also dealing with a lot of the things that even police officers and Chief Tuscan acknowledge need to be changed around policing in the way we have set it up historically. So I think it's a yes and effort to do all of these things together and to continue to work. And I did not vote to defund the police. We talked about having local control and local ability for police budgets to decide how they want to allocate funds to meet the community needs, which is exactly what we're talking about with accountability for what our own communities need. And so I'll continue to work with that and continue to work with all the stakeholders at the table to get these kind of police accountability measures passed.
All right. Well, Representative Olson, Mr. Johnston, thank you so much for joining us and best of health as you head toward the general election. We continue now with our coverage of candidates running for the legislature in the region. Meet Your Candidates will focus this week on 3 northern Minnesota races. First, we'll hear from the candidates in House District 5B, which includes portions of Itasca, Cass, and Crow Wing counties in northern Minnesota. It is an open seat as incumbent Republican Sandy Lehman chose not to run for re-election. The Democratic candidate in the race, Joe Abeda, did not submit a video for our program. The Republican candidate in House District 5B is Spencer Igo.
My name is Spencer Igo, and I'm running to be your next state representative for House District 5B. I am proud to call Grand Rapids in the Northland my hometown. Growing our economy, strengthening our schools, supporting our law enforcement, expanding broadband, and providing opportunity for our communities is key. Working together, we can build a prosperous northern Minnesota that retains our youth, builds our economy, and invests in our future. I want to lead this effort to revitalize greater Minnesota communities and make northern Minnesota a place that can thrive for years to come. I am pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, and pro-law enforcement. I am pro-labor, pro-mining, and pro-Line 3. I believe in less government, lower taxes, and more freedom for all Minnesotans. I have the energy to serve, passion to make a difference, and resolve to see it through for you. On November 3rd, I'd be honored to receive your vote and be your voice in St. Paul. Go for Igo.
Next on our Meet Your Candidates coverage, we will hear from the candidates in Minnesota House District 6B. The district is entirely contained in the central portion of St. Louis County. The district includes Virginia and Eveleth to the north and stretches down to the townships just outside of Hermantown. We'll hear first from the Republican challenger Julie BURIA, followed by the DFL incumbent David LISLEGARD.
BURIA, running for District 6B House of Representatives. My husband Paul and I have lived in the area our entire lives, where he works as a production truck driver at Mintech for 20 years. The same mining supports us is very real to our household. I currently serve as a city councilor in Mount Iron, and I work as a real estate agent with a broker in the area. We were fortunate to have 2 of our children find good jobs to stay in the area. The issues important to me are supporting mining, law enforcement, bringing back law and order, and funding and taking care of our law enforcement and veterans. The mining industry will take off with Polymet Twin Metals and Line 3. I hope to serve as your next 6B representative. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dave LISLEGARD, and I'm your state representative, and I'm running for re-election for House 6B. It has truly been an honor and a privilege of mine to carry your voice to St. Paul these past 2 years, our values and principles each and every day. I'm also proud that I was able to grow up on the Iron Range and raise my family here. You know, I didn't choose this location by coincidence. It is one of the small communities that I represent. It happens to be the one that I live in, where I raised my family, where I worked right over there at the former LTV site until it closed. I understand the ups and downs and what mining means to our region. I also understand what education means and the importance where my kids got a good education right here. That's why I go down to St. Paul, and that's why I fight each and every day for you and to have your voice heard. I ran on people before politics, not as a punchline, but it's who I am and it's what I believe in. And that's what I'm going to bring to St. Paul each and every day. And I ask you for your vote. Thank you.
And finally this week on Meet Your Candidates, we have the candidates running for office in Minnesota Senate District 7. The district includes most of the city of Duluth except for a small area around Western Arrowhead Road. Incumbent Senator Eric Simonson was defeated in the primary, so there will be a new senator in this district. We'll hear first from Republican Donna Bergstrom, followed by Democrat Jen McEwen.
Hi, my name is Donna Bergstrom. I'm your endorsed Republican candidate for State Senate District 7. I grew up in the Duluth area, and my grandfather graduated from Old Central High School. I live now in the Lakeside area with my husband and son. My roots in Duluth run deep. As a retired lieutenant colonel in the United States Marine Corps, I know that my commitment to public service continues even today. When I see the direction our country, our state, and our community is heading, down the path of socialism, I will not be silent. I'm so proud of my American Indian heritage and believe that the story of the 21st century American Indian is a lesson in survival, adaptability, and hope for all of America. I hold fast to my 7 grandfather teachings and how I conduct my life: bravery, humility, honesty, truth, respect, wisdom, and love. I ask for your vote on November 3rd. I am the right voice right now. Thank you.
I'm Jen McEWEN, and I'm running to represent you as your state senator from Duluth. My roots in Duluth run deep. My dad taught in the Duluth public schools, and my mom was a nurse at St. Mary's. I live with my family in the house I grew up in. We all know how important this year's elections are. What's at stake is not just who our state and national leaders will be, but the kind of future we will have. For too long, we have delayed addressing the serious challenges that confront us. The time to act is now. Together, we can make sure that every one of us has secure quality health care, health coverage that you can never lose. We can build a clean energy economy. We can, and we must build a Duluth and a Minnesota that are better and stronger than they were before. As an attorney for disabled workers, I've fought insurance companies that deny people the benefits they are entitled to. As board president of the Damiano Center, I've worked with others to provide food security to struggling families. I am ready to work together alongside you with political courage and integrity to take on the challenges we face. I ask for your vote on November 3rd. Thank you.
Indigenous Peoples Day was recognized on Monday in Duluth, Superior, and many other places across the country. A growing number of states have adopted the day, which celebrates the history and contributions of Native Americans. Joining us now over the internet is Roxanne Delille, the Dean of Indigenous and Academic Affairs at Fond du Lac Tribal and Community College. Roxanne, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Why is it important to recognize Indigenous Peoples Day and Native history?
Oh my goodness, don't even get me going. How much time do we have?
Just a few minutes.
Yeah. Well, I guess if it comes right down to it, then I would say that to celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day is to celebrate the embodiment of resilience, survival, oh my goodness, adaptability, perseverance, all of the qualities that in fact we hold up and we try to fully emulate within ourselves as Americans. So to me, to celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day, it makes sense to finally acknowledge the people that have, survived all this time on this land and are still here. I would think that it's a good reason.
How far have we come as a society, in your mind, to actually recognize this as a holiday?
I guess it depends on the time that you ask me. Some days I have great grace, and I think that we've made huge strides. And other days I think, oh my goodness, what year is this? Are we still doing this? Are we still trying to convince people that all people have the right to be? And all people have the right to be acknowledged for who they are and how they are and what they do. And then, like I say, at other times, I think, wow, we're doing pretty good. We've come a long way.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that today's schools are doing a pretty good job of educating children about the history of Native peoples and the contributions that they've made? I know you see a lot of young people moving up into college. Are they pretty well prepared with that knowledge base?
No, I wish I could say that they were. I think some schools are making efforts, and there are some schools that excel, while others, no. I work at a tribal and community college, and at my college, students come and they have absolutely no idea of the land that they're on, of the people who are here. I think that they drop off the whole tribal piece of tribal and community college, and some even embrace it. So it's a wide variety, but I'd say, do they come prepared? By and large, no.
Well, thank you. Hopefully this conversation and the celebration of Indigenous Peoples Day will help educate people. We appreciate you coming and spending some time with us.
Thanks for having me. I'm grateful that we get a tiny little voice even in just a little corner.
All right. Well, next week on Almanac North, we'll have a story on Deer River High School's Anishinaabe education program. The school's inclusive approach makes it an option for non-Native students to participate in the program, building bridges between different cultures and raising awareness of Native teachings and history. More on the positive impacts of the program on next week's show. And that's going to do it for our show this week, but you can keep up with Almanac North by following us on social media. You'll find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Visit the WDSE website for program updates, upcoming events, and more information about the station. And download the PBS Video app for on-demand viewing of your favorite programs. Thanks to all of our guests and to the crew here in the studio. I'm Julie ZENNER. Stay healthy, everyone. We'll see you next time.